I am so happy! No more bad shows for me on Undisputed.
I'm sorry, I hadn't been on TV in a while. I don't mean to take over nothing, but I hadn't worked on it.
Finally.
I can't believe I'm making this video. I mean, in our last video, I did predict at some point or another, Skip Bayless should retire. I didn't think this would happen this soon. I didn't think Fox was just gonna give up on Skip this quickly, but I could understand why they made this decision. So before we get to the content, we're giving away copies of College Football 25. All you have to do to enter is follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Links to the giveaways are in the description down below. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? You guys already know how I feel about Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharpe, and Stephen A. Smith. I think they're incredible entertainers, very charismatic, and at the very minimum, know how to tap into the emotions of an audience. Skip Bayless was a pioneer in this industry, whether you want to admit it or not. The man created the concept of the modern sports debate show. You know, the concept of whatever this is.
Last year with Tyreek Hill.
Right now!
Hey, stop it! It
Right
is
now!
my turn.
You going back
Hey,
to
hey,
last
time
year.
out, time out.
Or I'm sure you're familiar with this.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Stephen A.
Now, at this point, you guys recognize Skip Bayless as being a generational troll whenever it comes to all things sports. And sometimes his trolling seems a little out of touch. Skip rose to prominence by, for the most part, being the biggest LeBron James hater you've ever seen. And it's something that he's kept up until recently. I mean, his trolling of LeBron James runs so deep that he's starting to become a Bronny James stan just to screw with his fans even more.
I think Bronny will be pretty good. I've always gotten the feeling that Bronny had a bigger clutch gene than his father does.
And while LeBron James fans and sports fans have always taken this kind of personally, I always thought that Skip was playing a character. I didn't really think that this was legitimately who he was. But regardless of what you think about Skip Bayless's on-air persona, you have to admit that this is an individual that really knows how to put together entertaining content. Skip Bayless is credited for elevating Stephen A. Smith to the situation he's in now, pushing the executives at ESPN to give Stephen A. Smith an opportunity to debate Skip Bayless on a show called Cold Pizza. Eventually, Stephen A. Smith was promoted to becoming Skip Bayless's routine debate partner on ESPN's First Take, and these two put together one of the most comical bits of sports television until 2016. And if you ever want to get a good laugh, watch Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless yelling at each other over sports. I mean, here's an example.
You better be careful about what the words that's about to come out of your mouth. Don't be disrespectful. You better be careful. Can't believe the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Wait a second. That's $27 million worth of nothing?
And any normal human being at this point would feel comfortable. They would stay at ESPN where they're delivering ratings at a safe job, making Mickey Mouse happy. But that's not what Skip Bayless decided to do. Fox Sports 1 threw Skip Bayless a bag to leave ESPN and try to recapture the same magic again. Skip Bayless this time decided to tap Shannon Sharpe as his partner in crime for daily sports debates, and you can make a legitimate argument that this was even better than First Take. Shannon Sharpe had a different type of charisma, a different type of charm that he brought to the table than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith was loud, boisterous, but very, very funny, and the energy that he brought to the sports debate was a great compliment to Skip Bayless's calm yet savage sense of humor. But Shannon Sharpe would absolutely roast Skip Bayless at times. He'd bring cigars and Hennessy on set, but there was a huge question of whether or not Shannon Sharpe would be able to debate things that are out of the realm of football. You know, the sport that he became a Hall of Famer in and one of the greatest tight ends of all time in. Shannon Sharpe quickly dispelled that notion. All Shannon really had to do was become a gigantic LeBron fan, and next thing you know, you could become Skip Bayless's #1 public enemy on daily sports debate shows.
You know, LeBron got a degree in atmospheric science and meteorology.
And the I promise.
No.
What?
They would have an incredible run for about 7 years, man, and in 2023, that's when stuff first hit the fan. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the very first incident, where these two were discussing Baker Mayfield, and you could tell that Shannon Sharpe got a little bit heated here, but I don't think it was that crazy.
Says he's dead last in QBR, 17.8.
We're talking about yesterday. How did he look yesterday?
No,
Gets an F?
No. I got the floor. Because all you do is bring up those 11 games. All you do is go back and talk about when he was a rookie and won 7 games. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about because I got the floor. Baker Mayfield is dead last in 2022 in QBR.
Blah, blah,
He's
blah.
dead last. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah. He's 57.8. He's 33rd in completion percentage. You going to let me talk? Because that's what you do.
If you'll stay on point on questions.
You never stay on point.
Okay, I'm about to stay on point.
You're not going to get on point until I'm done talking.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
Spew all your hate.
I'm going to spew it
your
all.
Baker hate. Spew it.
17.8, because all you talk about, you're uncertain about Justin Herbert, but you get on the floor for this clown. He's a bum. He's trash, and you know it. And every time you bring him up, I'm going to let the world know exactly what he is.
Oh, you have 4 Twitter followers.
Don't worry about hold on.
Yeah, okay.
You talk about Twitter, and we come out here and discuss topics that you tweeted. So don't give me about that Twitter stuff. You can talk about my followers all you want, but I got you dead to right, and you see how he do America? He talk about my Twitter followers. That's what I know I got it. And I'm going to continue to go. He's 187.
Tell me when it's my turn.
It's not your turn.
Okay.
He's Pro Football Focus got it graded 37%.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, go ahead.
Blah, blah, blah.
But the incident that changed everything, an incident that Shannon Sharpe mentioned multiple times since leaving Undisputed, that it was the straw that broke the camel's back, was the fact that Skip Bayless went too far in comparing Shannon Sharpe to Tom Brady.
Still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's the point.
That's what you do. I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame. I'm better than you.
Better.
Skip, what I got to see what you do. You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots.
You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Now look, man, on one hand, I could see it from Skip's perspective where he might assume that Shannon Sharpe should think it's ridiculous that he's being compared to Tom Brady. You can't compare a tight end to a quarterback, and you can't look at a player saying you suck because you didn't play until the age of 45 like Tom Brady did. That's just insanity, and Shannon Sharpe's longevity as a tight end in of itself is very impressive. Like Tom Brady, he also was drafted late in the NFL draft, later than Tom Brady was, in the 7th round, pick number 192. Shannon Sharpe's won Super Bowls with 2 different teams like Tom Brady. There's some similarities there, but one's a tight end and one's a quarterback. You can't compare a quarterback to a tight end. I'm sure we all agree with this. You can't come out and say Justin Jefferson's better than Patrick Mahomes. They play 2 different positions. So I guess in defense of Skip Bayless, you could say maybe he assumed that Shannon Sharpe would assume that he's just being ridiculous, but Shannon didn't see it that way, and I guess this is what seemed disrespectful.
Glasses back on.
Can I finish?
You disrespect him. It's just so. You know what? It's beneath your dignity. Okay? I'm going to have at it because I'm going to have at you.
Shannon Sharpe would tell us in September of 2023 on Stephen A. Smith's podcast that this was the straw that broke the camel's back.
As you reflect back on that moment, what goes through your mind and how much trouble was the relationship between you two in at that particular moment?
A lot of that is my fault, because there were times that led up to that I felt that shots were taken and I let it go. And he felt that he could go over the top in that situation. Whatever the relationship is, once one partner has no respect for the other partner then in turn loses respect for said partner. Then I think it's only a matter of time. Because I felt in that moment he had lost all respect for me. He had no respect for me. This is Undisputed, Skip and Shannon. This is not yours. So it really, really hurt me. Had I attacked him personally, live on television, what would have happened?
And Shannon Sharpe would then reveal that he and Skip weren't that close to begin with.
Skip would get to work, I would get to work. I was in my dressing room, he was in his dressing room. It was really like a heavyweight fight. We barely talk. I mean, honest to God, we might say hello. We're passing each other in the bathroom. Hello. That was it. It was not a carry on conversation. It was very little communication. In 7 years, Skip and I went to, I think we had brunch once. I didn't develop the type of work relationship with him because I didn't get the sense that's what he wanted.
And things would take a turn for the worse. You remember how I said that Skip Bayless sometimes could push a little too far. I mean, a classic example of this was him calling out the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott, about dealing with depression about his brother who took his own life because he had to watch his mother go through chemotherapy, which is a very difficult sight for any son. Well, this is what Skip Bayless's take on that was.
He's human. His brother was dealing with something that he took his life. I can't deal with this. I don't want anyone to know.
You can share it internally. You can go see a psychiatrist if you need to. You can get all kinds of counseling. Right. Just don't make me question whether you're made of the right stuff to stand up to that job, because that's a hard job he's got.
Well, just a few months after his spat with Shannon Sharpe over Tom Brady being a better player than Shannon Sharpe was, Skip Bayless decided to tweet something that a lot of people found insensitive about Damar Hamlin. And this tweet went absolutely viral. No doubt the NFL's considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. And I don't know if people took this as Skip Bayless saying, all of a sudden this game's irrelevant because someone died, or the outcome of this game is obviously irrelevant because someone almost died. Regardless, it was enough for Shannon Sharpe to no-show Undisputed, which resulted in this uncomfortable Skip Bayless monologue.
I apologize for what we're going to set out to do here today. Obviously, my partner Shannon Sharpe is not here today. I look forward to seeing him tomorrow.
But when Shannon Sharpe would return to Undisputed, things would get awkward. Shannon Sharpe would open up with this monologue and he would already get cut off by Skip Bayless.
There's been a lot of speculation of why I wasn't on air yesterday, and I won't get into speculation or conjecture, innuendo, but I will say this. In watching that game on Monday night, what happened to Damar Hamlin struck me a little different. Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, hopefully Skip would take it down. But I didn't want it.
Well, time out. I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted.
Skip, let me finish.
All right, okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Okay.
I mean, I cannot even get through a monologue without you interrupting me.
I was under the impression you weren't going to bring this up because nobody here had a problem with that tweet.
No, clearly the bosses wanted you to offer explanations, so clearly somebody.
No, they did not have. Nobody.
Let's go, Jen.
A few months later, we got the news, and it wasn't really much of a surprise to anyone. Shannon Sharpe was leaving Undisputed. Now, apparently, it was Skip Bayless that wanted Shannon Sharpe's contract bought out. He was literally bought out, meaning Fox Sports paid him to leave. And in my opinion, this was the craziest stunt that I think I've ever seen Skip pull. Because don't get me wrong, he's captured lightning in a bottle not once, but twice. But trying to do it a third time when you're 71 years old, when the landscape of social media has completely changed, is a pretty tall task. I mean, Skip Bayless at that stage of his career is kind of like how Peyton Manning was in his final Super Bowl. Yes, he still had the mind to create a successful game plan. It was mainly his teammates that were carrying him. It was mainly the running attack of Peyton Manning's Denver Broncos team and their defense that won them that Super Bowl. And I guess Cam Newton being afraid of diving on fumbles. Sorry, Panthers fans. And at this point, Skip Bayless wasn't the young star that he once was. He was just a very good complement to what Shannon Sharpe brought to the table. People tuned in for Shannon Sharpe's quick wit and charisma. Skip Bayless's shtick was getting a little old, but we didn't mind it because these two complemented each other so well. But ultimately, Skip Bayless's hubris was his own downfall. Shannon Sharpe's podcast numbers were higher, his social media following was greater, he was tight with a bunch of players in the league and players actually liked him, so they wouldn't mind making podcast appearances on Club Shay Shay. So from the very beginning, it was clear that Shannon Sharpe was gonna be okay. But Skip Bayless, on the other hand, I mean, his podcast numbers don't do well, primarily because he's reading off of a paper every time. But regardless, Shannon Sharpe decided to double down on podcasting, creating Nightcap with Ocho Cinco, in addition to Club Shay Shay, and he now makes regular appearances on ESPN's First Take, which, by the way, is kicking Undisputed's in ratings. Skip Bayless's old co-hosts are teaming up against him. And the craziest part is that Stephen A. Smith even said that I'll always miss Skip. Skip is my guy. I love him. I don't always agree with him. We've gone our separate ways. He's doing what he's doing. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'll never root against him. I'll always be grateful to him for what he has done for my career. But Smith also said in 2023 that at this stage and point in my life, I'm happier without him. I'm not going back. That's not what I want anymore. It has nothing to do with the debate show. It's It's that I have other aspirations. I've been named the executive producer of First Take. I have my own production company. I have my own podcast. I've got a lot of aspirations, and I want to do late night television one day, potentially succeed Jimmy Kimmel. If you talk about one final day with Skip Bayless, I'd welcome that any day of the week, just to pay homage for what he's done for me, and to beat him again. I've always beaten him. He's never beaten me in a debate. Now keep that in the back of your mind really quickly, because that's going to be very important later on. At this point, I'm sure you guys know what happens. Skip Bayless tries to bring on a revolving door of panelists to replace Shannon Sharpe, including Keyshawn Johnson, who is supposed to be his new Shannon Sharpe, but with respect, it's not the same. Michael Irvin, who's not on every day, same with Richard Sherman, Rachel Nichols, Paul Pierce. Yo, what is that Lil Wayne?
So it doesn't matter who the opponent is, and it doesn't matter the stage. We just, coach said win. We got to do what coach said.
But the show continued to decline in popularity, and well, it seems like it's officially reached its breaking point, because we just got news that Skip Bayless is to leave FS1's Undisputed following Shannon Sharpe's exit. After Sharpe left the show, it took a brief hiatus last summer before returning with a new format that saw Bayless acting as both moderator and panelist in debates, with a rotating group of panelists that included Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, Richard Sherman, Rachel Nichols, Paul Pierce, and yo, can someone please credit Wheezy F Baby, please? The new iteration of the show failed to capture audiences in the way Bayless and Sharpe did during their 7-year tenure together.
You don't have time because you guys talk too much, and so I can't. I've run out of time here. I did. Yes, you talk too much.
To make matters worse, Undisputed suffered in the ratings following the move of First Things First from early mornings to mid-afternoon following the herd. Craig Carton's lead-in show has not yet reached the metrics that First Things First brought in as the lead-in for Undisputed. Prior to joining FS1, Bayless was at ESPN for 12 years and starred opposite of Smith on First Take before his departure in 2016. In 2021, he reportedly signed a 4-year deal with FS1 worth $32 million. Now, at the same time, FS1 may lose Colin Cowherd as well, whose deal comes to an end after the 2024 football season. So Colin Cowherd literally has FS1 by the balls, because that's like their last star. And no offense to Colin Cowherd, but he's not really known for giving great takes.
And then there's CJ Stroud, rookie defensive head coach, weird owner, below average roster. He's not talented enough to overcome that.
So at this stage of his career, what's next for Skip Bayless now that he's a free agent? Well, the fun thing would be for him to go to ESPN and form the big three on First Take with Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. The thing is, as much as I think that would improve the show, I don't think Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe would go for that. I mean, they're doing just fine without it, even though I think that Skip Bayless's annoying presence would significantly improve the show. I could see him making appearances here and there just for the sake of it, because at this point he has reached legendary status, whether you want to admit it or not. But if you ask me, and I mean this in the most loving way, Skip, you're 72 years old. At this point, bro, just take your bag and take your wife Ernestine and just travel the world, man. After seeing the cognitive decline that occurs once you reach the age of 80, I mean, look at our president, for crying out loud. I don't mean this in a mean or derogatory way, but he's clearly not as sharp as he was at the age of 78 as he is at the age of 82. And I think it's cool that he's still trying to work, but hey, whatever he wants to do. I personally would not want to be leading the country at the age of 80 something, but that's just me. Maybe I'm the lazy sack of shit here. You've made millions of dollars at the age of 72. Go on vacation, relax a little bit, ride off into the sunset. There's really not much more for you to achieve here. And there really doesn't seem like an alternative for Skip here. I mean, it's not like your podcast is pulling in great numbers. Undisputed clearly failed without Shannon Sharpe, but both Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe wouldn't be Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe without you. That's just what I would do. Skip Bayless was a pioneer in this industry. He's 72 years old at this point. He's done his thing. I would just ride off into the sunset and just enjoy life the way it is, because I think it's ridiculous to pursue a brand new venture at the age of 72. But that's just me. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think is going to happen with Skip Bayless, and what do you think he should do? Aside from that, I don't know if you've heard, but Jordan Addison continues to ruin his life. The man had a near 1,000-yard receiving season last year, but then he decided to get behind the wheel drunk as hell, and he got pulled over for a DUI. I made a whole video on that, and I'll leave it in the end screen. I'll catch you guys there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.